Good Wednesday morning. I promised that we would learn covenants in this next lesson, so we're going to learn about covenants. Now, a covenant it's an agreement of it's the terms of a new relationship being formed, if that makes sense. So let's think about a contract, for instance. A contract, let's say, I don't know, you're signing on to a business contract or something of that nature. So in a contract, you have someone offering the contract and you have the recipient of the contract, and they have to sign the contract, and now they're bound to the terms of that contract. Now, the only thing is that when the contract is being formed, both parties can negotiate on the terms of this contract so that it benefits both parties equally if that's what the negotiation leads to. But a covenant is a lot different. It's similar in the sense that both parties are agreeing to something, but it's different in the sense that it's more relationship based. Now, when we think about a covenant, something you got to understand is that let's say you have two people making a covenant with each other. Now, let's say you have a lesser person and a higher person. A covenant is almost always made from a higher person to a lower person. And it's in the benefit of a lower person to get that kind of a covenant so that they can get the benefits that this person has. And so a covenant is a new relationship being formed where the higher person sets the terms that the lower person has to agree to. And this is, and I'll get to the cool part later, but so now a covenant is that I'll give you this, I'll give you all of this that is mine, in return you'll give me this. And the relationship revolves around those terms. And it's up to the receiving party to agree to those terms or to refuse those terms. And a cool covenant that happens in the Bible is a covenant between David and Jonathan. So in 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 16, it says, "So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, 'Let the Lord even require it at the hand of David's enemies.'" And now this is really cool. So you have Jonathan and you have David. Now, Jonathan is the son of Saul, who is king at the time. So Saul is king, which means that when Saul dies, Jonathan should be the next king because he's next in bloodline. The problem is that it was prophesied that David is going to be the next king. What that means is that when Saul dies, instead of Jonathan becoming king, David is going to be king. And what would happen in those days is when a king was made who wasn't of bloodline, well, that king would essentially kill off his rival bloodline. The king would kill off everyone else who essentially had a right to a throne that wasn't of his bloodline. So if this would have played out normally, and if this was just kind of some random scenario, if David did become a king, then David would kill all of Saul's family so that there was no chance that Saul's family could have a chance again at someone being king. Well, this covenant is made between Jonathan and David, and the covenant is Saul saying, the covenant is Jonathan saying, "David, when you become king, spare my family." And that's that. And Saul is saying, even though I'm rightful next to be in line, I'll give you the throne willingly, and in return I ask that you spare my family. So that's a covenant made between David and Jonathan. Now the cool thing is that God makes a bunch of covenant with mankind through the Bible. He makes a covenant with Noah, he makes a covenant with Abraham, he makes a covenant with David, and it all culminates with Jesus making the last covenant. And so we talked about how in the first lesson that the result of the fall of man was that mankind is now spiritually dead and separated from God, and that a result of that separation is that mankind now feels shame and it now feels fear from God. And so God makes a covenant with Noah, makes a covenant with Abraham, makes a covenant with David, and now his last covenant with Jesus. If we go to Isaiah 54, And we're going to go to verse 9. God says, "For this is as the waters of Noah to me. For as I swore that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wrathful with thee, nor would I rebuke thee. For the mountains shall depart, and the hills be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from thee, neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, says the Lord that has mercy on thee." So now the last covenant with Jesus, or the last covenant that Jesus makes with mankind, is that from Jesus on forward, everyone who is now a Christian, they have entered into a covenant where God will never rebuke you again, and God will never remove his kindness from you, and he'll never remove his peace from you. And so I hope that kind of puts into more perspective that if you do have any fear, any shame, any guilt, it's not from God. The new covenant that was founded by Jesus has removed the wrath of God. It's removed the negative effects that Adam entered into mankind. That Adam, invited into mankind. And so, so the next lesson on Friday, we'll talk about Jesus stepping into his identity so that he's able to make the covenant. But more so we'll kind of focus on the results of you being in that covenant. All right, but until then, have a good week, and I'll see you on Friday.